And we're live! Hello, hello, and welcome to another session in our mobile app redesign for developers live stream. We are back again with our special guest, Brandon Minnick.
Hey
Hey,
everybody.
Brandon.
Hey Luis. Thanks for having me back.
How? Yeah, it's always good to have you here. How's your week going? Today is Wednesday. I know you had 8 beats. How did that go?
That's right. Yeah. No, everything's going great. Yeah, we stream 8 bits every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Pacific. And if anybody's interested, you can check out 8bits.tv. That's our fancy website where you can find all the previous episodes. You can find the episode with Luis in it, uh, and hear all the good things that we chatted about. But yeah, man, things are going really well. I been writing a lot of code lately. Working on adding in these new features, and so that we'd show them off today
Nice.
a little bit.
Nice. I see we have there our loyal listeners. Ricardo Brito is in the chat, and for each. Hey, welcome back, guys. And I put the link in the chat for the 8-bit show. Go watch it. It's an awesome show. You get to see so many different great professionals with different backgrounds, and also Brandon's host Chloe is awesome. So go check it out. You're gonna really enjoy watching them. So yeah, let's go back in time and what were we talking about last week? Where did we left off? Let me just get started here. Let me just show briefly where we left off, and then Brandon has a little surprise for us with progress he has on the code. So yeah, today is gonna be an exciting day. Let me share my screen here. Let's see. Screen. All right. I think everybody can see my screen now. Okay, perfect.
Yep.
So yeah, perfect. So yeah, coming back to next week, where we left off, just reminding, we are working on the feature of enabling access to our repos from the organizations we have access in GitHub, right? So initially, this is what we had to work with. We're basically working with GitHub, GitHub web view, basically, because right now we don't have access to the Git OAuth flow that has the organization access integrated to it. So the workaround we found it was basically taking the user to this GitHub page where they're gonna be able to select one of the organizations they want to give GitTrends access to, and once they give access to GitTrends, they're gonna be able to see their repos from that organization and the GitTrends app. So we wanted to provide the user a brief tutorial on what to expect once he landed in that web view, because as you can see, that UI is not very friendly and it really breaks everything we have in our app. So, and also the user might get lost because the first thing they're gonna see is this menu here, right, that has all the options for your account, and then you're gonna have to scroll down and go to the app where you want to enable the access to. So that's why we came up with this neat idea of having a carousel where we're gonna basically do a brief tutorial on what is this feature, and like what are GitHub organizations, why should it matters to us in GitTrends, and how can I enable the access to it. So we came really far. I really like the progress we did last week. We basically set the colors, the theme, and the structure for the carousel pages. Recalling back on what Brandon learned is that in the carousel view and the carousel, we need a data template. So that's why you see now we have pretty much a well-defined structure for each page, and we can simply map this to a template. So yeah, Brandon, tell us a little bit more about what you were working on the weekend and how I already saw the videos and the spoilers, so let's give an update to our listeners, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what. If you want to go ahead and share my screen,
Yep. Let
then
me swap to yours.
we'll just show them all what we got so far. So we are
Perfect.
definitely still working on it. GitTrends is all open source, so you can follow our work on what branch are we on? Something like the branch is called something like Create Carousel View or something.
Yeah. Create
Something like that.
organizations, carousel view. Yeah.
There we go. So yeah, I just committed these, just pushed these commits today. And so here's what we have so far is when you toggle on
Nice.
to enable organizations, you can see the switch in the background is enabled now. So here's that carousel view that we were talking about. I actually just ran it for the first time as the show is starting here in Android. And you can see there's going to be some tweaks, like the bottom's kind of getting cut off down here, but easy fixes. I wanted to get this basically this template in place because like Luis mentioned, this carousel view, or the way carousel views work, is just like a list view or collection view in Xamarin Forms, where they require a data template. So everything, or each, maybe a better way to put it, like each page of this carousel view has to, well, we'll say has to look the same, although yes, you could use data template selectors, and there's ways to do anything you want in Xamarin Forms, really. But yeah, I want to get that data template done, which this is looking pretty good. I went through a couple iterations where the indicator view was originally part of the carousel view. So when you swiped it, the indicator, that these three dots would also slide off the screen. I didn't like that, so I fixed it. So now we anchor at the bottom. Handling the logic to change this background color took some work. I can actually show everybody. I don't have to just talk about the code because we got the code right here. So
a side note to now that you're gonna show the UI code, right? We have a comment here from Ricardo saying, "Oh, I just downloaded the GitTrends app and I was still looking for the SAML code." Yeah, that's a thing in our GitTrends project. We don't use SAML, we use C# for markup. So that's what you're seeing here in the screen right now.
Yeah, that's a whole rant of mine. I've never used XAML. I don't really see the point. Like if you know it, great, but I don't encourage new devs to learn XAML because learning all this stuff is hard enough, and then adding in a completely different language on top of that, like on top of learning Xamarin Forms and MVVM, and on top of learning iOS and Android and all those platform-specific APIs, and learning mobile lifecycles, and learning C# and async and await, like dependency injection, unit testing, like all that stuff's hard enough. We don't need to add XAML in. So you're right. There's no XAML in here, but it's still MVVM. It still follows all the best practices. We're still using bindings. But you get some benefits where C# is compiled ahead of time, whereas XAML is interpreted at runtime. So the same code written in C# will always be faster than the same code written in XAML. There's also cool tricks you'll see that we're doing here that we can take advantage of. Everything's strongly typed. So you can like do things like right click on a binding and say, tell me where it's being used, by saying just find references. Because XAML, if I'm being honest, it's just a hard-coded string. So anyways, yeah, what I went ahead and did was I am using Sharpnado Material Frame. We're using Material Frame all over this app. So for example, once this loads in a second, there you go. These cards, you can see how they have the rounded corners. There's a little shadow behind them. That's all Sharpnado Material Frame. We didn't write any code for that. And even if I toggle this to dark theme, all that changes as well. And like we get all that for free with Sharpnado. So highly recommend Sharpnado. We even call it out here in our about page. We have there it is. Whoops. Sharpnado Material Frame. So highly recommend it because
now that I'm looking again at the About Us page, when you came to it, we
Mhm.
really did a good job there. Like I really liked it. Like you
I
went
love it,
into it,
man.
and everything is so well compact there. It's nice.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
Kudos to
not
us.
to, yeah, right. Like not to toot our own horn, but like it is
Yeah.
beautiful. Like for an about
Yeah.
page, I mean, we dumped months of work into this, so it better look really good. But
Yeah.
yeah, sometimes I'll just go to the about page just to see it, just to like marvel in the glory, and I'll just kind of swipe back and forth here because, yeah, all
Yeah.
these, just the UI is just really nice. But so yeah, we use Sharpnado material frame all over the app. Figured why not keep it going here, and so that's how we get this little. Let's see. Do you see that zoom happen when I zoom in on my
Yep.
computer? All right.
Yep. Perfect.
So it might be a little tough to see on the stream here, but there is a shadow that goes around here, and
Yeah, we can
probably
see
down
it.
here at the bottom. There you go. That's a little bit more obvious.
Nice.
And yeah, to do that, I just tell Sharpnado to plug it in the elevation. And the higher I set the elevation,
Mm-hmm.
the
The more
closer,
shadow.
yeah, the more shadow you get. But the optical illusion is the closer it'll look like it's
Yeah.
jumping off the page. So this is
Yeah.
saying it right now with an elevation of 8. It's like 8 pixels above the settings page.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's bunch of tweaks I did. There's no way to dismiss this right now, so I have to toggle the pages back and forth. We'll be adding that in, I promise. But
Yeah.
so the first thing I did, like when I first slapped this in here and I hit the toggle, you'll notice it now fades in. We'll do it one more time. Check out this fade. Ooh.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
yeah, but the first time I did it, I didn't have that fade. It just appeared and it felt really abrupt. It was just like, whoa,
Yeah.
like where did that come from? Um, so something. So the way we're doing that, because again, we're doing all MVVM stuff. So in the view model, anytime that switch is toggled, so we have this Boolean that's bound to the switch. And anytime it's toggled, we'll check a couple things. Oh, that's another good point too. I'm jumping around all over the place. I'm so excited. So another weird thing was if you are in demo mode. So let's see if I disconnect from GitHub. Come on, Android. There we go. The Android
Oh,
simulators.
oh,
There we
okay,
go.
okay. Nice.
Yeah, for some reason when I'm streaming and sharing my screen, like the computer, even though
Yeah.
the computer I have is a beast, it's the most powerful computer I've ever owned. It just grinds to a halt. But yeah, if the user's in demo mode, come on, Android, you can do it. I'm clicking it, I promise. Maybe I'll just stick to the iOS emulator. This has been nice and responsive. Beautiful. So yeah, if you're just checking out the demo, and it doesn't really make much sense to have this include organization switch enabled,
Yeah.
because when you do enable it, you're going to get that carousel view every time. And so one of the other things I noticed was like, if you're just in demo mode, we got to disable this. So that's why you see it grayed out here. It's also grayed out here. So you have to be logged in, connected to GitHub. But so that's why here in this property, anytime the value of that switch changes, we'll check to see, is the switch enabled? And then also we have a GitHub user service. So when you do enable that switch, we save that value to the phone. So if you're familiar with Xamarin Essentials, this is the Xamarin Essentials preferences library. So that just means that when you close the app, we save your preferences. So when you open it back up, then you don't have to re-enable your organizations again. So we are checking all that stuff here. And if the switch is enabled and the value of this has changed, so you've toggled it, right? Then we'll update your preferences. And I added in this event called, let me just jump to the event. Boom. So our view model now has this event called organizations carousel view visibility changed. It's a little strange wording. And I don't, I'm going to probably tweak it a little bit because really all that's changed is the switch. But basically, I need an event to fire to let the UI know to display this. And vice versa, I can also have logic in my view model now to dismiss it. So we're going to have like a two ways of closing it. Like we'll probably have like an X that the user can just tap to dismiss it. And then also if the user goes through the carousel page and gets to that organization's GitHub button, that'll also dismiss it. So now we have a way to handle that in our view model. And when that fires here in the settings page, this is where we can fade it in and out now. So now anytime that event changes, if is visible is true, then we'll fade it in, and we don't have any logic yet to dismiss it, but once we do, we'll be able to fade it back out to an opacity of 0, which means you can't see it. So that probably explains some of the things that's going on here, where we have the material frame, its opacity is defaulted to 0. And that's why I include this little comment that says, keep this view hidden until the user toggles a switch. And yeah, we're setting the background color based on the page. So if we want to add more pages in the future for some reason, this will let us do it. So I have this, method that if the page is even, then it'll be a teal color. If it's odd, it'll be coral. And really all this frame has in it is it has the carousel view inside of it, and it has that indicator view. So this is how we're able to anchor that indicator view. Oh no, I signed out. That's Android. Android's being really slow right now. Reconnect to GitHub. There we go.
Oh, you signed out in both of them. Oh.
I know, right? I'm an agent of chaos. There it is. So yeah, now by having the carousel view up here inside of the frame, we can keep the indicator view anchored here at the bottom of this Sharpnado material frame. So that way when you swipe it, you don't see the dots shifting or swiping to the left and right, which that's how it was originally. That's how carousel views actually have that logic baked into it. So you can just, I'm going to try to say, like, inside of Xamarin Forms carousel view, you can just set values for they call this the indicator view down here. I didn't like it, so did it myself. The other weird thing was, oh, sorry, go ahead.
So there's a question here in the chat from Ricardo. He's mentioning the fade. Is this a type of navigation effect to change from one page to another, or is it another Sharpnado library feature?
No, so fade 2. This is just an extension method that's included in Xamarin Forms. So any visual element in Xamarin Forms, so labels, buttons, stack layouts, grids, carousel views, anything that appears on the screen really is a visual element. And yeah, you can just say dot fade to, give it the opacity that you want to fade to, the amount of time. Oh, I just noticed we're actually using the default time, so this is also the same. But yeah, these are your animations, right? So like there's fade to, there's also you can do, let me zoom out a little bit. Whoop. So there's like rotate to, because of the T, did I make that up? Or did I just lose IntelliSense? IntelliSense disappeared on me. Having all sorts of troubles today, but no, this is just a Xamarin Forms library. So just a way you can animate your views. So if you want something to rotate, if you want text to fly in and out, like on the GitTrends splash screen, all those animations are using all of these. Let's see. So just to show you real quick, here's like heavy animation stuff. So yeah, like the label translate to. Translate means move it, like don't rotate it, but just like shift its position left, right, up and down. So this is how the text flies in off the screen, because we tell the label to translate to. The GitTrends image fades in on the splash screen. all that bouncing and stuff that you see is there it is, scale to, so you can scale your views bigger and smaller. So like 0.95 is 95%. Then we make it big, so it kind of gives it that jumping feel. But yeah, check them out. I highly recommend scale to, fade to, translate to, rotate to. All these extension methods are great, and they're really what gives your app that professional feel. So if you just slap in a fade animation or a rotate animation, people are like, wow, this app's incredible. Like, yeah, I know. I faded it.
Yeah.
Good question, though. Let's see. So yeah, along with that, we had to handle we have this event called Position Changed that again comes with Xamarin Forms carousel views. And sorry. 1 second. I'm sorry. My headphones are also connected to they auto connected to my iPhone, and somebody was just calling me and started hearing ringing in my headphones, and I was jarred. But yeah, so every time the position changes, meaning when the user swipes. So when the user does this, the position just changed from 0 to 1. We just subscribed to that event, and I changed the background color of the frame. So the Sharpnado material frame, this is where we change it here based on the current position. And then likewise with the indicator view, you also have to tell it, if you're not going to use the one that's baked into the carousel view, I should say. Since I'm doing this manually, I also have to update that's position. So you can see that the selected dot changes. What was another funky thing I did? That might be the only one. But yeah, handling that position changing, because if you yeah, because if you don't, you can set the background color to be inside this carousel view. But if you can picture it, the carousel view only extends to about right here vertically. So the rest of this is the indicator view. So we just handle that background color manually using these events. And then the other weird thing was I have a negative padding here. And this is something, I don't know if this is the right way to do it. Who created Material Frame? Jean. I'm blanking on the rest of his name.
Yeah. It's
John, if you're watching, let me know if this is the right way to do it. But yeah, when you set a corner radius, you can, obviously it bends the corners here. Otherwise we'd have perfectly sharp square corners. But with corner radius, it bends them, but it also affects how the content inside of it is handled. So it kind of bumps everything in or out based on how the library is created. So like Pancake View handles that corners a little bit differently than Sharpnado Material Frame, than the Xamarin Forms frame that comes with the Xamarin Forms library. So what I found was if I didn't have this negative padding here, then this light overlay, this I guess I can show you what that is. It's literally, I don't know. Whoop. So it's literally just an image, this where I set the background color to white and then multiply its alpha by 0.25. So that means this is just a white view this is just a view with a background color that's set to white that I made only 25% transparent. So we're basically having this overlay here on top. And what I found was happening was the overlay wouldn't come all the way out to the corners. And actually, is it happening right now? Ooh, there it is. Do you see that?
Yeah.
It's this little piece right here. We'll have to play around with this and figure out what to do. I mean, is it noticeable enough to really invest a lot of time? Maybe. We'll have to figure that one out. But yeah, the rounded corners kind of hose up a lot of logic with these libraries. But
How I've done it is you can just use any view like a frame, right? You just put the background and set the opacity to it, and it should work the same.
yeah, and that's another
And
option,
then
right?
you can put the rounded corners to that, and it's gonna match the other one, and probably.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Like this, it's like if this was a frame with corner radius. The only thing there is we're going to get corners down here, but it might not look bad.
I think you can choose. Yeah, you can. Each corner you can set the radius to it. I think, like it accepts four numbers, doesn't it? Check.
Maybe material frame does. I had it on Xamarin Forms frame.
Yeah, I think material frame does.
Corner. Oh, maybe it's sharp.
Yeah, you can
set
like
maybe
the
it's
top
pancake
corners. View. Let me see.
Well, here we can slap in that proof of concept real quick. Because honestly, having the corners at the bottom might not look bad. I know it's not what we originally drew up, but since that's just going to be an image up here, maybe it'll look good. Oh no, it's building for Android. Android's a slow one. Oh well.
Yeah. Let me see. I'll research in material frame to see if you can like set a specific corners to round.
So I know Pancake View lets you do it. It's like Pancake View you can have, so it has a corner radius class. And let's see. So that would be 10. Oh, how did Tellson tell me? Corner radius, height, is clip to bounds. How do you do a pancake view? Well, anyways, that's a good call out. We definitely make that work. But it's kind of like it's just been a couple little things with this where if we're striving to get it just perfect.
Yep. I think it's Pancake because I was looking at the material frame documentation. I don't see him using it with those 4 options. So yeah, we'll probably have to use a Pancake there, but yeah, it's doable if we want to be like pixel perfect.
Yeah, and plus, I mean, it's only going to appear in dark mode.
Yeah.
So, that's one of those like, is it enough for us to devote time to it? Maybe.
Yeah, we can leave it for him if we have some minutes left.
Let's see what else is going on here. Boom. So carousel views, like we mentioned, they require a item template. So just like your list view, just like your collection view, every page in your carousel has to look exactly the same. And then you just pass in an item source, and we're just going to hard code the values here. So I just created this is actually a record that contains the title, the text, the position number. And since some of our images are going to be SVGs, we have a property for the SVG file name. And since some of the images are just going to be, or rather, since one of the images is going to be a GIF, then we'll have to use image sources. But
nice.
Yeah, we'll just plug in all that data here once we've got it. Once we've got all the materials, once I have all the SVGs and the GIFs, we can just pop them in right here. And really all that's just a grid. So we just have there we go. So it's just a grid with 3 rows. So we have the image, and that is 4 stars compared to the title and description, which are 3 stars. So this kind of takes up a little bit more, but did that on purpose because the indicator view is down here. So by having the image skewed a little taller, then it actually balances everything out. But yeah, this is where we handle, like, this is where we'll plug in the SVG or the Xamarin Forms image for the GIF. It plugs in the title row, the description row. So yeah, I mean, everything's looking good. It's, Lisa and I talking just before we went live is, we're going to be tweaking little things like the padding on the side, padding on margins on the top and bottom.
Yep.
We still need to finalize the text we put in here, but we're getting really close.
Yep, I agree. So something talking about those tweaks, something I just reminded myself is that for this carousel, we're missing something really important in the background, which is one of the tweaks we're gonna do, and it's giving it. You know how when you have like a pop-up, and this is like the main screen, but you still can see some in the back.
Mhm.
Usually you like gray it out, or you just put a black frame, a view on the background, and you change the opacity so you can still see it, but you know that if you click outside, it's gonna dismiss what you have currently.
Right. That's a good call.
So we could add that effect on the back, and that's just another view with the fade.
Mhm.
And then that there we have our dismissal, right? We don't have to add the X. As soon as they tap outside of it, that's it. It gets dismissed.
Maybe. So that's what I was thinking about. I don't know. I can make that work, but I don't think Xamarin Forms has anything like that really built in. But what we could do is basically put a gesture recognizer on the settings page, and that would dismiss it. But honestly,
Yep.
I might prefer just have like an X button up here, because adding that gesture recognizer is going to be a lot. So like we'll have to add it to everything on the settings page that could be tapped. So just this layout could be tapped. This is a grid layout. Any of these icons could be what gets tapped. Even like this 1 pixel little separator could be what gets tapped. So that's one of those things that it'll just proliferate throughout the settings page. And if you just add a little X here in the top right instead, accomplishes the same thing and saves us a ton of code.
Yeah, definitely. We can also go with the X there. So yeah, which tweak do you want to work on first? I would say the easier one to tackle will be the paddings, right?
Yeah. So I know. I think we're only going to go for 5 more minutes today. Is that right? Today's a short show.
Yeah, today is 1 hour show. So let's just list down all the tweaks we need to do then, and let's decide what we're gonna work on first the next time we have our stream, and start thinking about like the text that is gonna go in the tutorial, right?
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right. So if you want, let's make a list. Do you have like a notes or something we can write on? Or do you want me to add it in the Adobe XD project?
Well, what I was just thinking is we'll just throw it in the
Oh yeah.
throw it in the old GitHubs. This is what I did last time. I went ahead and opened up a draft pull request. I think this is going to be my new thing. So this way you can see, like, you can come to the repo, see a pull request is open. You'll see that it's still a draft, so you'll see that's a work in progress. But it's a quick and easy way for anybody to see what is actively being worked on.
Oh, did you see? It was today that I saw the tweet. There's a tweet going around from GitHub of a new issues redesign that they're gonna do for that, like for creating the issue and how it's gonna work. Like when you create bullet lists, it's gonna create separate issues, and when you like check it, it's gonna close it automatically as well. So they're gonna come with a lot of cool new stuff for the issues.
Cool. They've been doing
Yeah.
some great work lately.
Yeah.
I've definitely felt my productivity increase. So yeah, here I'll put this. We'll say here's a sneak peek, and then have a little to-do list. So yeah, the margins, add, I call it like the background opacity overlay beneath carousel view. I hope that makes sense. Yep. Add titles, add descriptions. Each so view page. What else did we just talk about? Fix. Let's just write it like this. Say
Perfect.
Use
a description
frame for just corners. It'll probably be a pancake view.
Yep.
And
the GIF, like the resources we need to add as well.
Add SVG resources. Add like we said earlier, we're almost done. We're so close. We just have like
we need
20
to
things
add
to do.
The button as well, and the animation, like the whole logic of how the button is gonna come and the animation and all of that.
Yeah, so that can kind of be a sub bullet here. So it'd be like disable button till GIF. Oops. It'll say add text. Question mark?
Animated text. Yeah.
We'll see how that looks. Like we saw when we were drawing it up, the text might be too noisy. But if the fact that the button is disabled isn't obvious, then we should have the text there.
Yeah. We have a question here in the chat before we leave. Ricardo says, do you think that having more than one class for each file breaks programming good practices?
Oh, good question. So to kind of expound on that, yeah, so what you'll see here is I have nested classes. So this organization's carousel view is nested inside of the organization's carousel frame. I do that on purpose. I do that for two reasons. One being that it makes this top level instantiation look cleaner. So I can just say new organization's carousel view, and it brings in all of this stuff. Because otherwise, I could just do this in the constructor up above, but it's not going to be easy to read for somebody who like just jumps into that class. And then the reason why I do it, so that's the reason why I create a separate class, literally just so I can up here say new organization's carousel view, done. And the reason I do it as a nested class is this carousel view is only going to be used inside of this frame. There's no other class that's going to be using this. So this is also just, this kind of gets into like the whole public class versus private class, public method versus private method kind of theory. And my the way I like to architect my code is everything should be as private as possible unless it's absolutely necessary to make it protected, or unless it's absolutely necessary to make it public or internal or whatever it might be. But you should always lock down those values, because otherwise that code will start leaking out. You'll start seeing it being used in other places, or even with like certain properties or methods, other classes will be able to use those. And it's bugs waiting to happen. So if you lock everything down, if you make it as private as possible, and only resort to public for scenarios where you absolutely have to, then it lowers the possibility of bugs, and it also lowers the unit test surface, because unit tests also need to test every public class, and inside of that class they need to test every public property, public method. Like, that's your API service for your unit tests. And if everything's public, then you better be unit testing everything. Whereas if something is private or protected, then you don't have to unit test it, because you only need to test the public API surface. So yeah, I understand that it's a little, it looks a little strange having these nested classes. Usually that's not something you'll see very often in C#. But in this case, there's only one class that's going to use the organization's carousel view, and it's this class. So that's why I nest them. And it just helps make this code right here easier to read. So yeah, Ricardo, when you open up the organization's carousel frame file, you'll be able to quickly see like, okay, setting some settings, and then that content's just a stack layout with 2 children in it. And then if you want to, then you can dive in and be like, oh, well, what's this class? What's this indicator view doing? And then that's where you can see like the settings specific to the indicator. But I agree. Yeah, it's a little funky to look at, but there's a method behind the madness.
Makes sense. So yeah, I think we're set for our next session. When are we having that next session, Brandon? This week? Next week? When are you available?
Let's check the old calendar. Let's see. Yeah, next Wednesday looks good for me. We can keep jamming on it next Wednesday.
Yeah, so I guess next Wednesday should be a really good one for us. I think we can knock out all of the whole to-do we have there. And hopefully after next Wednesday, we can get started with asking for translations.
Yeah, that's that's always one of the longest timelines, milestones. What's the word I'm looking for? What are those milestones that takes the longest? Just because we have so many contributors who've contributed so many languages, and it's amazing. But everybody's got their own schedule, right? And this is just a free open source project. Like, nobody's making money on this. Nobody's getting paid to do anything. So yeah, when we reach out to folks, because I don't know German, so when I hit up Carrie Lothrop to say, hey, Carrie, can you translate these? Then it's kind of like, whenever you can get around to it. It's not like, do it tonight or else we won't pay you. We're not paying him or anybody or me or Luis. Like, none of us. This is all just, we do it because we love it.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you everyone for coming. We had a great time today, Ricardo. Awesome questions. It was nice having you again in our stream, and I hope you guys have a nice rest of the week and the weekend. And yeah, I'll see you all next week. All right. Take care.
Bye, everybody.